A quiet accountant from Mesa was laughed out of the gym when she asked about competitive kickboxing training. The trainer pointed toward the pink dumbbells and suggested she try Zumba instead. 3 months later, she stepped into the ring. The Desert Storm Championships wearing hand-me-down gloves and a borrowed mouthguard. When the final bell rang, she was holding the championship belt, and the same trainer who had dismissed her was updating his resume. Nobody cheered when it happened. The arena went dead silent. Even the live broadcast cut to commercial early. Iron Fist Boxing and Fitness Center would never be the same again. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The summer heat in Phoenix made everything shimmer, but inside Iron Fist Boxing and Fitness Center, the air conditioning hummed with the efficiency of a place that took itself seriously. The converted warehouse stretched across 12,000 square feet of polished concrete and professional-grade equipment. Heavy bags hung in perfect rows like leather soldiers, while speed bags rattled against their platforms in rhythmic percussion. The smell of leather, sweat, and industrial cleaning supplies created an atmosphere that whispered of serious business and serious money. Tony Brennan had built Iron Fist from nothing into the premier combat sports facility in the Southwest. The walls displayed framed photographs of professional fighters who had trained there, local television interviews, and sponsorship plaques from Phoenix auto dealerships and energy drink companies. A large banner stretched across the back wall proclaiming, "Home of 17 regional champions," in bold red letters that caught the LED lighting perfectly. Everything about the space was designed to intimidate newcomers and reassure members that they had chosen the right place to spend their money. The main training area dominated the center of the facility, with a regulation-size ring surrounded by bleacher seating that could accommodate 300 spectators during events. Professional-grade cameras mounted on adjustable arms captured training sessions for social media content and promotional videos. The ring itself was a thing of beauty, with pristine white canvas and ropes that gleamed under the overhead lights. Corner posts bore the Iron Fist logo, and the surrounding mat area extended 12 feet in every direction, providing ample space for movement and safety. To the left of the main ring, the serious training area buzzed with activity throughout the day. Heavy bags weighing between 70 and 100 pounds hung from reinforced ceiling mounts, each one bearing the scuff marks and indentations of countless training sessions. Speed bags, double-end bags, and makiwara boards lined the walls, while floor-to-ceiling mirrors reflected the movements of fighters perfecting their techniques. This was where the real athletes trained, where sweat equity translated into championship aspirations, where every punch and kick carried the weight of genuine ambition. The right side of the facility told a different story entirely. Pink and purple equipment filled a section cheerfully labeled Fit Kick for Ladies, where groups of women in matching workout attire followed choreographed routines set to upbeat pop music. The bags here were lighter, the gloves were softer, and the mirrors were positioned to provide the most flattering angles for selfies. Motivational quotes in cursive fonts decorated the walls, encouraging participants to fight like a girl and sweat in style. It was fitness theater, designed to make participants feel empowered, while ensuring they never ventured into the serious training areas where real fighters prepared for actual competition. Coach Rick Valdez ruled over the men's training area with the authority of someone who had spent 30 years in the sport. His weathered face bore the subtle marks of a career that had taken him from amateur competitions through professional ranks and finally into training the next generation. He moved between fighters with the practiced eye of someone who could spot technical flaws from across the room and correct them with a few precisely chosen words. His athletes respected him not just for his knowledge, but for his ability to push them beyond what they believed possible. The morning crowd at Iron Fist followed predictable patterns. Business executives arrived before dawn for private training sessions, their expensive gym bags and custom gloves marking them as serious hobbyists with serious money. College athletes showed up between classes, using Iron Fist's reputation to supplement their university training programs. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Professional fighters claimed the afternoon slots, when the lighting was perfect for filming training videos and the energy in the gym reached its peak intensity. Marcus Rodriguez owned the late afternoon hours like a landlord collecting rent. Known throughout Arizona as Thunder for the devastating power of his kicks, Marcus had built a reputation that extended far beyond the state's borders. His professional record stood at 23 wins with 19 knockouts, and his social media following approached 500,000 across all platforms. Sponsors lined up to associate their brands with his image, and local television stations regularly featured him in sports segments highlighting Phoenix's rising athletic stars. Everything about Marcus was calculated for maximum impact. His training gear bore the logos of premium sponsors. His workout routines were choreographed for optimal camera angles, and his social media posts generated thousands of likes within minutes of publication. He trained with the precision of someone who understood that every session was both preparation and performance, that every technique demonstrated was simultaneously building his skills and his brand. The amateur tournament circuit in Arizona revolved around fighters like Marcus. Regional championships served as stepping stones to national competitions, where real money and real recognition waited for athletes skilled enough and marketable enough to capture the attention of professional promoters. The Desert Storm Amateur Championships represented the pinnacle of regional competition, attracting fighters from across the Southwest and streaming live to audiences that could make or break careers with their reactions and shares. Iron Fist had become the unofficial headquarters for serious tournament preparation in Phoenix. Fighters from other gyms often paid day rates just to train in the facility, hoping that some of the winning atmosphere would transfer to their own performances. The gym's social media accounts regularly featured training footage of upcoming champions, and Tony Brennan had developed relationships with tournament organizers that ensured his fighters received favorable treatment in scheduling and promotion. The women's section of Iron Fist operated under entirely different rules and expectations. While the men's area focused on technique, power, and competitive preparation, the women's programs emphasized fitness, fun, and social bonding. Classes had names like Cardio Combat and Kickbox Sculpt, and instructors encouraged participants to focus on burning calories rather than developing actual fighting skills. The equipment was lighter, the pace was slower, and the atmosphere was deliberately non-threatening. Ashley Wright managed the front desk with the efficiency of someone who had learned to read people within seconds of their arrival. She could identify serious athletes, casual fitness enthusiasts, and time wasters with a glance, directing each category toward the appropriate section of the facility. Her job required balancing customer service with gatekeeping, ensuring that the serious training areas remained focused while the fitness classes stayed profitable and fun. The registration system at Iron Fist reflected the facility's underlying philosophy about gender and combat sports. Men who expressed interest in competitive training were immediately directed toward Coach Valdez and the serious equipment. Women received information about fitness classes and were gently discouraged from pursuing anything too intense or potentially dangerous. The liability concerns were real, Tony often explained, and women simply weren't built for the kind of punishment that competitive kickboxing demanded. Jake Morrison served as assistant trainer and social media manager, documenting the gym's activities for promotional purposes. His camera work captured the intensity of professional training, while carefully avoiding any content that might suggest Iron Fist was anything other than a serious athletic facility. He understood which angles made fighters look most impressive, which moments generated the most engagement online, and which stories would resonate with the audiences that determined the gym's reputation and revenue. The tournament preparation process at Iron Fist had been refined over years of experience. Fighters began training camps 12 weeks before major competitions, following carefully structured programs that built technique, conditioning, and mental toughness in precise increments. Every aspect of preparation was documented and analyzed, from sparring sessions to dietary protocols, ensuring that Iron Fist athletes arrived at competitions with every possible advantage. The Desert Storm Championships represented the culmination of months of preparation for dozens of fighters throughout Arizona. The tournament attracted athletes from New Mexico, Nevada, and Southern California, transforming Phoenix into a temporary hub of competitive combat sports. Local businesses benefited from the influx of fighters, coaches, and spectators, while streaming audiences provided additional revenue through pay-per-view purchases and sponsor activations. Registration for the Desert Storm Championships required fighters to demonstrate both technical competency and physical readiness through a series of evaluations administered by certified officials. The process weeded out unprepared participants while ensuring that spectators witnessed genuinely competitive matches. Weight classes were strictly enforced, medical clearances were mandatory, and insurance requirements eliminated anyone who couldn't prove their commitment to the sport. The atmosphere at Iron Fist during tournament season resembled a military operation more than a typical gym. Training schedules were posted weeks in advance, equipment usage was strictly regulated, and every fighter followed nutrition and recovery protocols designed to optimize performance. The facility's reputation depended on the success of its athletes, and Tony Brennan left nothing to chance in his pursuit of championship results. Sarah Chun had been watching this world from the outside for 3 months, studying the patterns and rhythms of serious athletic preparation while participating in cardio, kickboxing classes that barely qualified as combat sports training. She arrived each morning at 6:30, when the gym was nearly empty and the serious athletes hadn't yet claimed their territories. Her workout clothes were plain and practical. Her equipment was basic but well-maintained, and her demeanor was so quiet that most members forgot she was there within minutes of seeing her. The cardio kickboxing classes provided Sarah with cover and basic conditioning, but they offered nothing resembling actual fight preparation. The techniques were simplified for safety and accessibility. The combinations were designed for cardiovascular benefit rather than combat effectiveness, and the instruction focused on motivation rather than technical precision. Sarah participated with apparent contentment, following the choreographed routines and encouraging her classmates with the enthusiasm expected of someone grateful for the opportunity to exercise in such impressive surroundings. But every morning, after the cardio class ended and before the serious athletes arrived, Sarah remained in the gym for an additional hour of private training. She worked through technical drills with a precision that suggested extensive previous experience, her movements flowing with the kind of muscle memory that comes from years of serious practice. Her footwork was flawless, her combinations were sharp, and her conditioning was far superior to anything the cardio classes could have developed. Sarah's morning routine had become invisible to the Iron Fist staff through sheer consistency and unremarkable execution. She cleaned up after herself, stayed out of everyone's way, and never drew attention to the sophistication of her training methods. To casual observers, she appeared to be an enthusiastic fitness class participant who enjoyed practicing the moves she had learned in group sessions. The reality was considerably more complex and far more impressive than anyone at Iron Fist could have imagined. The rejection came on a Tuesday morning when Sarah finally approached the front desk with a question that would change everything. Ashley Wright was updating the class schedule on her tablet when Sarah appeared, waiting patiently until the task was completed before speaking. Her request was simple and delivered in the same quiet tone she used for everything else at Iron Fist. She wanted information about competitive kickboxing training and tournament preparation. Ashley's fingers paused over the tablet screen as she processed the question. For a moment, she seemed unsure whether Sarah was serious or making some kind of joke. The silence stretched long enough to become uncomfortable before Ashley's professional smile returned, accompanied by a gentle laugh that carried just enough condescension to sting without being overtly rude. She explained that Iron Fist offered excellent fitness programs, specifically designed for women, pointing toward the pink and purple equipment area where Sarah's cardio kickboxing classmates were already gathering for the morning session. Suggestion that Sarah might prefer yoga or Pilates came wrapped in genuine concern for her safety and well-being. Ashley explained that competitive kickboxing was extremely demanding, both physically and mentally, requiring years of specialized training that most people simply weren't prepared to undertake. The liability issues alone made it impractical for recreational participants, and the risk of serious injury was something that Tony Brennan took very seriously when evaluating potential athletes. Sarah listened without interruption, nodding politely as Ashley outlined the various fitness options available to someone with her apparent background and experience level. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes, ending with Ashley handing Sarah a printed schedule of women's fitness classes and a discount coupon for personal training sessions focused on general conditioning and stress relief. The message was clear and delivered with professional courtesy, but it was still a message of exclusion wrapped in the language of concern and protection. Jake Morrison witnessed the interaction from behind his camera equipment, where he was setting up for a training session documentation project. He watched Sarah's face during Ashley's explanation, noting the absence of visible disappointment or frustration that might have been expected from someone receiving such news. Instead, Sarah simply thanked Ashley for the information, folded the schedule carefully, and walked toward the women's fitness area as if nothing significant had occurred. The incident provided Jake with content for a social media post about Iron Fist's commitment to appropriate training recommendations and safety protocols. He captured video of the bustling women's fitness area, emphasizing the positive energy and supportive atmosphere that made Iron Fist special for female participants. The post generated dozens of likes and comments from current members praising the gym's responsible approach to gender-specific programming and injury prevention. Coach Valdez observed the entire exchange from the serious training area, where he was preparing equipment for Marcus Rodriguez's afternoon session. His expression remained neutral throughout Sarah's conversation with Ashley, but his attention lingered on Sarah longer than necessary as she joined her cardio kickboxing classmates. Something about her posture and movement quality had caught his eye during previous mornings, though he had never given the observation serious consideration until this moment. The cardio kickboxing class proceeded exactly as always, with Sarah participating enthusiastically in every drill and combination sequence. Her technique remained deliberately simplified, matching the level demonstrated by the instructor and her fellow participants. She smiled at the appropriate moments, offered encouragement to struggling classmates, and maintained the persona of someone genuinely enjoying a moderate fitness challenge rather than someone capable of significantly more advanced training. But Jake's camera work during that morning's class captured details that went unnoticed by casual observers. His lens documented the perfect timing of Sarah's movements, the effortless balance she maintained during complex combinations, and the way her strikes created subtle vibrations in the light bags that suggested considerably more power than her gentle demeanor implied. The footage was intended for promotional purposes, but it inadvertently preserved evidence of abilities that Sarah was carefully concealing. Marcus Rodriguez arrived for his afternoon training session with his usual entourage of training partners, sponsors, representatives, and social media followers. His presence transformed the gym's energy, drawing attention from every corner of the facility as members paused their own workouts to watch a regional champion prepare for upcoming competition. Everything about Marcus's training was designed For maximum visual impact, from his perfectly coordinated gear to the explosive power of his techniques. The contrast between Marcus's afternoon dominance and Sarah's morning invisibility could not have been more stark. Where Marcus commanded attention and respect through obvious displays of skill and athleticism, Sarah had spent months blending into the background of fitness classes designed for people with no competitive aspirations. The gym's social media accounts featured Marcus regularly, while Sarah had never appeared in a single promotional photo or video despite her consistent attendance and participation. Tony Brennan took personal pride in Marcus's development and success, often describing him as the perfect example of what Iron Fist could produce when serious athletes committed themselves to proper training methods. Marcus's tournament victories brought prestige to the facility. His social media presence generated new membership inquiries, and his sponsor relationships created revenue opportunities that extended far beyond simple membership fees. He represented everything that Iron Fist aspired to be in the competitive combat sports world. The training session that afternoon showcased Marcus at his most impressive, working through advanced combinations with training partners who pushed him to demonstrate the full range of his abilities. His kicks generated sounds like gunshots when they connected with heavy bags, and his footwork displayed the kind of precision that separated genuine athletes from fitness enthusiasts. Every movement was captured by Jake's cameras for later editing into promotional content that would reinforce Iron Fist's reputation as a serious training facility. Sarah's timing for her post-class training session placed her in the gym during the final 30 minutes of Marcus's workout, creating an overlap that had never occurred before. She maintained her usual routine, working through drills on the lighter equipment in the women's area while the serious athletes finished their session in the main training space. The physical separation between the two areas meant that her activities remained largely unobserved, but the temporal overlap created opportunities for indirect comparison that had not previously existed. The difference in equipment quality between the two areas became particularly apparent during this overlap period. While Marcus and his training partners used professional-grade heavy bags, speed bags, and focus mitts that could withstand the full force of competitive-level training, Sarah's equipment was designed for fitness classes and recreational use. The bags she worked on moved dramatically with each strike. The gloves available to her were designed for comfort rather than protection, and the overall setup prioritized safety and accessibility over performance optimization. Despite these limitations, Sarah's 30-minute solo training sessions had begun attracting occasional glances from athletes in the main area. Her consistency was remarkable. Her technique was obviously superior to typical fitness class standards, and her conditioning appeared to be at a level that surpassed most recreational participants. Coach Valdez found himself watching her peripherally during equipment cleanup, noting details that suggested considerably more experience than her participation in beginner-level classes would indicate. The revelation that Sarah had been asking about competitive training created a new context for these observations. Coach Valdez had dismissed her previously as another fitness enthusiast who happened to have good natural coordination, but her direct inquiry about tournament preparation suggested motivations that went beyond general health and wellness goals. The question became whether her apparent abilities were the result of natural talent or previous training that she had not disclosed. Jake's documentation of that day's training sessions captured both Marcus's dominant performance and Sarah's quiet consistency, creating an inadvertent record of the stark differences in their training environments and support systems. Marcus worked with multiple training partners, professional-grade equipment, and the full attention of the gym's coaching staff. Sarah trained alone with basic equipment and without any guidance or feedback from qualified instructors. The social media content generated from that day's footage followed Iron Fist's established patterns, featuring Marcus prominently while excluding any reference to other gym activities that might dilute the focus on competitive excellence. Sarah's training session went undocumented and unmentioned, maintaining her status as an invisible participant in a world that had already decided she didn't belong in its serious spaces. But the overlap period had created cracks in the careful separation between serious athletes and fitness participants. Coach Valdez's increased attention to Sarah's activities, Jake's inadvertent documentation of her superior technique, and the growing curiosity of other gym members about the quiet woman who trained with such obvious skill began to create pressure on the assumptions that governed Iron Fist's social hierarchy. The Desert Storm Championships registration deadline was approaching rapidly, creating urgency around tournament preparation that affected every serious athlete at Iron Fist. Training intensified, dietary protocols became more strict, and the entire facility buzzed with the energy of impending competition. Marcus's preparation received additional support from Tony Brennan personally, who understood that a strong performance at Desert Storm could lead to national-level opportunities that would benefit both the fighter and the gym. Registration for the tournament required fighters to submit medical clearances, proof of training experience, and demonstration videos that allowed officials to evaluate technical competency and competitive readiness. The process was designed to ensure that only qualified athletes participated, protecting both the integrity of the competition and the safety of the participants. Iron Fist had developed streamlined procedures for helping their competitive athletes navigate these requirements efficiently. Sarah's interest in competitive training took on new significance as the registration deadline approached. Her question to Ashley had been dismissed as unrealistic curiosity, but the timing suggested that she might have been exploring the possibility of actual tournament participation. The idea seemed absurd to everyone who had observed her participation in fitness classes, but her consistent training and obvious technical abilities created enough doubt to make the possibility worth considering. The first serious conversation about Sarah's potential took place between Coach Valdez and Tony Brennan during a planning session for Marcus's final preparation phase. Coach Valdez mentioned his observations about Sarah's technique and conditioning, suggesting that she might possess abilities that warranted further evaluation. Tony's initial reaction was skeptical, emphasizing the liability concerns and reputation risks associated with allowing unprepared participants to pursue competitive training. But Coach Valdez's professional opinion carried weight at Iron Fist, and his assessment of Sarah's abilities was based on 30 years of experience in evaluating fighters. He suggested that a formal evaluation might be worthwhile, both to satisfy his curiosity about her background and to ensure that Iron Fist wasn't missing an opportunity to work with a potentially talented athlete. The conversation ended without resolution, but it established Sarah as a topic worthy of serious consideration. The evaluation proposal created the first crack in Iron Fist's established gender-based training policies. While the gym had never explicitly prohibited women from pursuing competitive training, the practical barriers and cultural assumptions had effectively maintained complete separation between serious athletics and female participation. Sarah's case forced a consideration of whether these barriers were based on legitimate concerns or unfounded assumptions about women's capabilities in combat sports. Jake Morrison's role as social media manager gave him access to hours of footage showing Sarah's training activities over the previous months. A systematic review of this material revealed consistent evidence of advanced technique, superior conditioning, and training intensity that far exceeded typical fitness class standards. The documentation provided objective evidence that supported Coach Valdez's subjective observations about Sarah's potential abilities. The footage also revealed the extent to which Sarah had been concealing her true capabilities during group classes. Side-by-side comparisons of her performance in supervised fitness classes versus her solo training sessions showed dramatic differences in power, speed, and technical sophistication. She had been deliberately performing below her actual ability level, maintaining a facade of recreational participation while pursuing serious training goals independently. This discovery raised questions about Sarah's motivations and background that went beyond simple curiosity about her athletic abilities. Her systematic concealment of advanced skills suggested either previous competitive experience that she had chosen not to disclose or natural talent, combined with self-directed training that had achieved remarkable results. Either possibility challenged Iron Fist's assumptions about appropriate training progressions and gender-based limitations in combat sports. The approaching tournament deadline forced a decision about Sarah's status at Iron Fist if she possessed genuine competitive abilities. The registration window represented an opportunity to test those abilities in actual competition. If her skills were limited to fitness class standards, tournament participation would be inappropriate and potentially dangerous. The evaluation that Coach Valdez had proposed became essential for determining which scenario accurately described Sarah's capabilities. Tony Brennan's business instincts recognized the potential marketing value of a successful female competitor training at Iron Fist. Women's divisions in combat sports were growing rapidly. Sponsor interest in female athletes was increasing, and media coverage of women's competitions was expanding beyond traditional niche audiences. A female champion emerging from Iron Fist could open new market opportunities and differentiate the gym from competitors who maintained traditional male-only competitive programs. But the reputation risks were equally significant. If Iron Fist promoted a female athlete who performed poorly in competition, the failure could damage the gym's credibility and undermine relationships with sponsors who associated the facility with championship-level performance. The decision to evaluate Sarah's potential represented a calculated gamble on her hidden abilities versus the established safety of maintaining current policies and procedures. The evaluation was scheduled for the following Thursday afternoon during a period when the gym would be relatively quiet and the assessment could be conducted without drawing excessive attention from other members. Coach Valdez would lead the evaluation, with Jake documenting the session for later analysis and Tony observing to make final decisions about Sarah's status and training opportunities. Sarah received notification of the evaluation appointment through a brief conversation with Ashley, who delivered the information with the same professional courtesy that characterized all her interactions. The session was described as a routine assessment to determine appropriate training recommendations, with no mention of competitive possibilities or tournament participation. Sarah accepted the appointment with her usual quiet thanks, giving no indication of excitement, nervousness, or any other emotional response to this unexpected opportunity. The final week before Sarah's evaluation created an atmosphere of anticipation at Iron Fist that went largely unspoken but was felt throughout the facility. Marcus intensified his preparation for Desert Storm. Coach Valdez refined his assessment criteria for evaluating unknown quantities, and Jake prepared his documentation equipment for capturing what might become either a routine fitness evaluation or a significant moment in Iron Fist's evolution toward gender-inclusive competitive training. The evaluation session that would determine Sarah's future at Iron Fist was scheduled for 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, a time carefully chosen to minimize disruption to the gym's regular operations, while ensuring that key decision-makers could observe the assessment process. The main training area would be reserved for this purpose, giving Sarah access to professional-grade equipment for the first time since she had begun training at the facility. Coach Valdez spent considerable time preparing for the evaluation, developing a series of tests that would reveal both technical ability and competitive readiness without creating unnecessary risk for someone whose true skill level remained unknown. The assessment would begin with basic technique demonstrations, progress through increasingly complex combinations, and conclude with controlled sparring if Sarah's abilities warranted that level of evaluation. Jake Morrison positioned his cameras, to capture multiple angles of the assessment, understanding that the footage might serve various purposes depending on the evaluation's outcome. If Sarah demonstrated genuine competitive potential, the documentation would provide baseline material for tracking her development and creating promotional content. If her abilities proved limited to fitness standards, the footage would remain archived as evidence of Iron Fist's thorough evaluation procedures. Tony Brennan planned to observe the entire session from the elevated office area that overlooked the main training floor, positioning himself to make objective assessments without influencing the evaluation process. His decision about Sarah's future training opportunities would be based on demonstrated ability rather than subjective impressions or assumptions about gender-based limitations in combat sports. The anticipation surrounding Thursday's evaluation created subtle changes in the gym's atmosphere throughout the week. Regular members seemed to sense that something significant was approaching, though few understood the specific nature of the upcoming assessment. Marcus Rodriguez noticed the increased attention to equipment preparation and camera positioning, asking Coach Valdez about the special session scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Sarah maintained her normal routine throughout this period, attending cardio kickboxing classes with the same quiet consistency that had characterized her participation for months. Her demeanor revealed nothing about her awareness of the approaching evaluation or her expectations for its outcome. She remained invisible in plain sight, a mystery wrapped in fitness class participation and surrounded by assumptions that were about to be tested against reality. Thursday afternoon arrived with the weight of accumulated expectations that nobody dared to voice aloud. Sarah entered Iron Fist at her usual time, wearing the same plain athletic clothing that had marked her as unremarkable for months. Her canvas gym bag showed signs of wear at the corners, and her shoes bore the scuffed evidence of consistent use rather than occasional fitness class attendance. Nothing about her appearance suggested that this day would be different from any other. Ashley Wright processed Sarah's check-in with mechanical efficiency, sliding the familiar clipboard across the counter without making eye contact. The liability waiver attached to the board was longer than usual, filled with additional clauses about intensive training activities and assumption of risk that Sarah read carefully before signing. Her signature was neat and deliberate, each letter formed with the precision of someone accustomed to important documents. The cardio kickboxing class that morning proceeded exactly as always, with Sarah participating at the same carefully modulated level that had characterized her involvement since joining Iron Fist. She followed the choreographed combinations with apparent effort, encouraged her classmates with genuine warmth, and cleaned up her equipment area with the thoroughness that had made her invisible to most observers. Only someone watching specifically for signs of concealed ability might have noticed the perfect timing of her movements or the effortless balance she maintained during complex sequences. Jake Morrison arrived early to prepare his documentation. Equipment, testing camera angles and audio levels with the meticulous attention to detail that professional fight documentation required. His setup included multiple fixed cameras positioned around the training area, handheld units for close-up work, and audio equipment capable of capturing both spoken instruction and the sounds of technique execution. The level of preparation exceeded anything typically devoted to routine assessments, reflecting the significance that everyone attached to this particular evaluation. Coach Valdez spent the hour before Sarah's assessment reviewing training protocols and evaluation criteria, ensuring that his approach would provide comprehensive information about her abilities while maintaining appropriate safety standards. His 30 years of experience had taught him to read fighters quickly and accurately, but Sarah's case presented unique challenges because of the deliberate concealment of her true capabilities during months of fitness class participation. Transformation of the main training area for Sarah's evaluation created an atmosphere that felt more like preparation for a significant event than a routine skills assessment. Professional-grade heavy bags were positioned for optimal camera angles, speed bags were adjusted for various height requirements, and focus mitts were arranged alongside other specialized equipment that would test different aspects of technical ability and athletic conditioning. Marcus Rodriguez finished his regular training session 30 minutes before Sarah's evaluation was scheduled to begin, creating an overlap that allowed him to observe the preparation process firsthand. His curiosity about the special session was evident, though Coach Valdez had provided only minimal information about the afternoon's activities. Marcus's presence added an element of competitive pressure to the situation, as his performance standards represented the benchmark against which all other athletes at Iron Fist were measured. Tony Brennan positioned himself in the elevated office area that provided a clear view of the entire main training floor, understanding that his observations during the next hour would determine not only Sarah's future at Iron Fist, but potentially the gym's approach to gender inclusion in competitive training programs. His business instincts recognized both the opportunities and risks associated with expanding beyond traditional market segments, but his decision would ultimately depend on demonstrated ability rather than theoretical possibilities. At precisely 3 o'clock, Sarah emerged from the women's locker area wearing different clothing than anyone at Iron Fist had ever seen her use. Her training gear was still simple and unadorned, but the fit and quality suggested equipment chosen for performance rather than fashion or comfort. Her hand wraps were applied with professional precision, each turn calculated to provide optimal wrist support and knuckle protection. Most striking was her demeanor, which had shifted from the deferential friendliness of fitness class participation to the focused calm of someone preparing for serious athletic activity. Coach Valdez began the evaluation with basic technique demonstrations, asking Sarah to show fundamental punches, kicks, and defensive movements that would establish baseline competency before progressing to more advanced assessments. Her response to these initial requests immediately distinguished her from typical fitness class participants, as her movements displayed the kind of technical precision that comes from extensive training under qualified instruction. The heavy bag work that followed provided the first clear evidence of Sarah's true abilities. Her strikes generated sounds and bag movement that matched the output of serious competitive athletes, while her combinations flowed with the kind of timing and rhythm that separates genuine fighters from recreational enthusiasts. Each punch was placed with surgical precision, each kick delivered with explosive power that contradicted months of carefully modulated fitness class performance. Jake Morrison's cameras captured every detail of Sarah's technique demonstration, documenting footwork patterns that showed influences from multiple martial arts disciplines and combination sequences that revealed deep understanding of fighting strategy and tactics. The footage provided objective evidence of abilities that far exceeded anything suggested by her previous activities at Iron Fist, creating a permanent record of the moment when her true capabilities became undeniable. Speed bag work revealed another dimension of Sarah's skill set, as her hand-eye coordination and timing proved to be at levels typically associated with experienced competitive athletes. The rhythm she established was complex and sustained, demonstrating the kind of neurological adaptation that requires years of consistent training to develop. Her ability to maintain perfect timing while varying speeds and patterns suggested extensive experience with this particular training method. Focus mitt work with Coach Valdez provided the most revealing portion of the evaluation, as it required Sarah to respond to unpredictable combinations while maintaining technical precision under pressure. Her reactions were instantaneous and accurate, her power was controlled but devastating, and her defensive movements showed the kind of subtle positioning that prevents damage while creating counterattack opportunities. The session resembled sparring between experienced fighters rather than an evaluation of unknown abilities. Marcus Rodriguez watched the entire evaluation with growing amazement, recognizing technical elements and athletic capabilities that matched or exceeded his own in several areas. Sarah's footwork was more sophisticated than his, her defensive positioning was superior, and her combination work showed creativity and tactical understanding that impressed someone accustomed to training with elite athletes. His presence during the evaluation provided valuable perspective on Sarah's abilities relative to established competitive standards. The controlled sparring phase of the evaluation began with light contact exercises designed to assess Sarah's ability to apply her techniques under resistance while maintaining control and safety. Her performance during these drills immediately elevated the session beyond routine assessment, as her timing, distance management, and tactical awareness demonstrated genuine fighting ability rather than fitness-based approximation of combat sports techniques. Coach Valdez gradually increased the intensity and complexity of the sparring exercises, testing Sarah's ability to maintain technical precision under increasing pressure while adapting to changing tactical situations. Her responses consistently exceeded expectations, showing not only individual technical skill, but also the kind of strategic thinking that distinguishes true fighters from athletes who merely possess good physical attributes and basic technique. The psychological dimension of Sarah's performance proved as impressive as her technical abilities. She remained completely calm throughout the evaluation, showing no signs of nervousness, excitement, or any other emotional response to the increasing demands being placed on her. Her focus never wavered, her confidence never flagged, and her demeanor suggested someone accustomed to high-pressure situations requiring peak performance. Tony Brennan's observations from the elevated office area confirmed what the cameras and Coach Valdez's direct interaction had already established beyond doubt. Sarah possessed legitimate competitive abilities that had been systematically concealed during months of fitness class participation. Her technique was advanced, her conditioning was superior, and her mental approach was that of an experienced athlete rather than someone exploring combat sports for the first time. The final phase of the evaluation consisted of conditioning tests designed to assess Sarah's physical preparation for the demands of competitive fighting. Her performance during these exercises revealed cardiovascular capacity, muscular endurance, and recovery ability that matched the standards maintained by Iron Fist's elite athletes. The months of apparent fitness class-only training had somehow produced or maintained competitive-level conditioning that contradicted everything the gym staff thought they knew about effective preparation methods. Jake Morrison's documentation of the conditioning phase captured Sarah's ability to maintain technical precision even when fatigued, demonstrating the kind of training specificity that comes from extensive experience with fight simulation exercises. Her heart rate recovery between rounds was exceptional. Her breathing patterns remained controlled throughout high-intensity periods, and her movement quality showed no deterioration even during the most demanding portions of the assessment. The evaluation concluded with Coach Valdez asking Sarah to demonstrate any specialized techniques or training methods that she felt would provide additional information about her capabilities. Her response included several combination sequences that incorporated elements from multiple martial arts disciplines, showing not only technical versatility, but also the kind of creative adaptation that characterizes fighters who have trained with various instructors and absorbed influences from different fighting philosophies. The silence that followed the completion of Sarah's evaluation lasted several minutes as everyone present processed what they had witnessed. Coach Valdez stood motionless beside the focus mitts, his expression showing the kind of professional surprise that comes from encountering abilities far beyond anticipated levels. Marcus Rodriguez remained seated on the bleachers, no longer watching from curiosity, but from genuine respect for someone whose skills had proven comparable to his own. Tony Brennan descended from the office area with the measured pace of someone whose business assumptions had just been fundamentally challenged. His approach towards Sarah carried none of the casual authority that typically characterized his interactions with fitness class participants. replaced instead by the careful respect accorded to serious athletes whose abilities commanded professional consideration. The conversation that followed was brief and conducted in tones that reflected the gravity of what had just been revealed. Tony's questions about Sarah's background and training experience were asked with the understanding that her answers would determine not only her future opportunities at Iron Fist, but potentially the gym's entire approach to gender inclusion. In competitive programs, Sarah's responses were as measured and precise as her technique demonstration had been, providing essential information without unnecessary elaboration. The revelation of Sarah's extensive martial arts background came in carefully chosen words that explained her abilities without dramatic revelation or apology for previous concealment. She had trained continuously for 15 years under multiple instructors, competed successfully at regional and national levels in various disciplines, and maintained her skills through disciplined personal training, even when access to appropriate facilities was limited. Her participation in Iron Fist's fitness classes had been motivated by the need for consistent training, access rather than the desire for basic instruction. Coach Valdez's immediate response was to offer Sarah a place in Iron Fist's competitive training program, with access to all equipment and instruction methods available to the gym's elite athletes. The proposal included preparation for the Desert Storm Championships if she was interested in returning to competition after her recent period of reduced activity. His offer was made with the professional enthusiasm that comes from recognizing genuine talent and the opportunity to work with an athlete whose abilities could enhance the gym's reputation. Marcus Rodriguez's reaction was equally positive, expressing interest in training with someone whose technical abilities could challenge and improve his own preparation for upcoming competitions. His recognition of Sarah as a legitimate training partner represented a significant shift in the social dynamics that had governed Iron Fist's competitive program, creating opportunities for collaboration that transcended traditional gender-based divisions in combat sports training. The practical arrangements for Sarah's transition from fitness class participant to competitive athlete were discussed with the efficiency that characterized all serious business at Iron Fist. Training schedules, equipment access, coaching assignments, and tournament preparation timelines were established with the understanding that Sarah's integration into the competitive program would begin immediately and proceed with the same intensity applied to all elite athlete development. Jake Morrison's documentation of the evaluation session provided comprehensive evidence of Sarah's abilities that would serve multiple purposes in the coming weeks. The footage would be analyzed for technical details that could inform her training program development, edited for promotional materials that would announce Iron Fist's expansion into women's competitive training, and archived as historical documentation of a significant moment in the gym's evolution. The transformation of Iron Fist's competitive program to include genuine female participation required immediate adjustments to training schedules, equipment allocation, and coaching responsibilities. Sarah's presence would necessitate modifications to sparring rotations, conditioning protocols, and tournament preparation procedures that had been designed exclusively for male athletes. These changes represented both logistical challenges and opportunities for program enhancement that could benefit all participants. The announcement of Sarah's addition to Iron Fist's competitive team was made through internal communications that emphasized her qualifications and competitive background, rather than her gender or the novelty of female participation in the program. The message was crafted to present her integration as a natural expansion of the gym's commitment to training elite athletes regardless of demographic categories, avoiding any suggestion that special accommodations or reduced standards were involved. The reaction from Iron Fist's existing competitive athletes was overwhelmingly positive, reflecting the respect that genuine ability commands in serious training environments. Sarah's demonstration of advanced skills and competitive readiness had established her credentials beyond question, creating acceptance based on merit rather than tolerance based on policies or social pressure. Her integration into training groups proceeded smoothly because her abilities justified her presence, rather than requiring explanation or accommodation. The broader implications of Sarah's evaluation extended beyond her individual case to challenge fundamental assumptions about gender roles in combat sports and the effectiveness of Iron Fist's previous approach to female participation. Her concealed abilities during months of fitness class attendance raised questions about how many other potentially competitive athletes might be overlooked by facilities that maintained rigid gender-based program divisions. The preparation for Sarah's first official training session as a member of Iron Fist's competitive team began immediately, with Coach Valdez developing specialized protocols that would integrate her existing skills with the gym's proven championship preparation methods. The process would combine her extensive technical background with Iron Fist's resources and expertise, creating a collaboration that could benefit both Sarah's competitive aspirations and the gym's reputation for developing elite athletes. Desert Storm Championship's registration deadline was only 2 weeks away, creating urgency around the decision of whether Sarah would compete in her first tournament as an Iron Fist representative. Her evaluation had demonstrated competitive readiness, but tournament participation would require additional preparation specific to the event format, weight class requirements, and tactical considerations that distinguish tournament fighting from general training activities. The Desert Storm Championships arrived with the scorching intensity that only Phoenix summers could deliver, transforming the converted warehouse venue into a crucible of athletic ambition and competitive pressure. The arena had been configured to accommodate 1,200 spectators, with professional lighting rigs suspended above 2 regulation fighting rings and camera equipment, positioned to capture every moment for live streaming audiences that would ultimately reach 6 figures across multiple platforms. Sarah's preparation for the tournament had compressed 15 years of gradual skill development into 2 weeks of intensive focus under Coach Valdez's expert guidance. Every training session had been documented, analyzed, and refined to optimize her performance for competitive conditions that differed significantly from the training environment where her abilities had been revealed. The process had transformed her from a hidden talent into a legitimate championship contender whose presence on the tournament roster generated genuine excitement among informed observers. The registration process for Desert Storm had required Sarah to submit fight footage, medical clearances, and background verification that established her competitive history and current readiness for elite-level competition. Her documentation revealed a record of significant achievements in multiple martial arts disciplines, including regional championships in 3 different states and a national ranking that had been maintained through years of consistent competition. The revelation of this background had retroactively explained her technical sophistication while raising questions about why someone with her credentials had been training incognito at a facility that had initially dismissed her potential. Marcus Rodriguez's reaction to learning about Sarah's competitive background had evolved from surprise through respect to genuine enthusiasm for the opportunity to train with someone whose skills could enhance his own preparation. Their sparring sessions had become legendary within Iron Fist's competitive program, generating training footage that showcased technical exchanges at levels rarely achieved in regional athletic facilities. The partnership had elevated both athletes' preparation while demonstrating the potential benefits of gender-integrated training programs. The transformation of Iron Fist's competitive culture had been swift and comprehensive, with Sarah's integration serving as a catalyst for broader improvements in training standards and technical sophistication. Her influence had elevated the performance of male athletes who found themselves challenged to match her precision and tactical intelligence, while her presence had attracted additional female athletes who recognized Iron Fist as a facility genuinely committed to competitive excellence regardless of gender. Jake Morrison's documentation of Sarah's tournament preparation had generated promotional content that positioned Iron Fist as a progressive facility, leading the evolution of combat sports training. The footage showcased technical sophistication and training intensity that contradicted stereotypes about women's participation in combat sports, while demonstrating the competitive advantages that could be gained through inclusive training environments. The material had attracted attention from sponsors and media outlets interested in the broader implications of gender integration in traditionally male-dominated sports. Tony Brennan's business instincts had proven accurate in recognizing the marketing potential of Sarah's success, as her story had generated media coverage and membership inquiries that exceeded projections for traditional promotional campaigns. The narrative of hidden talent revealed through fair evaluation had resonated with audiences beyond the combat sports community, creating opportunities for Iron Fist to expand its market reach while maintaining its reputation for competitive excellence. The weigh-ins for Desert Storm took place on Friday evening, creating the first public appearance for Sarah as an Iron Fist representative in competitive context. Her arrival at the venue attracted attention from photographers and reporters who had been following the story of her emergence from fitness class participant to championship contender. The contrast between her quiet confidence and the elaborate self-promotion typical of combat sports created a compelling visual narrative that distinguished her from other competitors. Sarah's official weight verification proceeded without incident, confirming her placement in the women's middleweight division, where she would face 7 other competitors in a single elimination tournament format. Her opponents included fighters from established combat sports programs throughout the Southwest, several of whom had professional experience and regional rankings that suggested the competition would be genuinely challenging rather than ceremonial. The technical meeting for tournament participants provided Sarah with her first opportunity to interact directly with the other women in her division, creating social dynamics that reflected the various approaches to competitive preparation and self-presentation that characterized modern combat sports. Her understated demeanor contrasted sharply with the social media-focused promotional activities of several opponents, establishing her as an intriguing unknown quantity whose capabilities would be revealed only through actual competition. The draw for tournament brackets positioned Sarah against Maria Santos in the opening round, a matchup that pitted her technical sophistication against an opponent known for aggressive pressure and superior physical conditioning. Santos had compiled an impressive record in professional competition and represented the kind of established talent that would provide immediate validation for Sarah's competitive readiness if she could secure victory in their encounter. The evening before competition brought final preparations that differed significantly from the training camp atmosphere that had characterized Sarah's previous 2 weeks. The mental transition from preparation to competition required adjustments in focus and energy management that Coach Valdez had emphasized through specialized protocols designed to optimize performance under tournament conditions. Sarah's response to these final preparations demonstrated the psychological resilience that distinguished genuine competitors from athletes who merely possessed impressive training abilities. Saturday morning arrived with the electric anticipation that characterized major tournament days as competitors, coaches, and spectators converged on the venue for 8 hours of elimination competition that would determine regional supremacy in multiple weight classes and divisions. The atmosphere combined serious athletic competition with entertainment elements designed to engage live and streaming audiences, creating pressure that extended beyond simple athletic performance to include promotional and commercial considerations. Sarah's arrival at the venue generated immediate attention from media representatives who had been tracking her story throughout the preparation period. Her decision to limit interviews and focus exclusively on competition preparation created an aura of mystery that enhanced rather than diminished public interest in her tournament debut. The strategy reflected psychological preparation that prioritized performance over publicity, distinguishing her approach from competitors who seemed equally focused on social media engagement and athletic achievement. The opening ceremonies for Desert Storm featured introductions of featured competitors, including a spotlight presentation for each fighter in the women's middleweight division that provided Sarah with her first opportunity to experience the full intensity of tournament atmosphere. Her introduction generated sustained applause from Iron Fist supporters who had made the trip to witness her competitive debut, while also drawing curious attention from general audiences who had been following her story through media coverage. The preliminary matches in other divisions provided Sarah with opportunities to observe competitive conditions and referee tendencies, while managing her own energy and mental state for her scheduled afternoon bout. Her ringside position during these early fights demonstrated the analytical approach that had characterized her training, as she studied tactical patterns and technical details that might inform her own strategic preparation. Maria Santos's morning interview with tournament media had emphasized her experience advantage and intention to test Sarah's competitive readiness through aggressive, early pressure designed to expose any weakness in preparation or mental toughness. The comments created additional psychological pressure while providing insight into her opponent's likely tactical approach, information that Coach Valdez incorporated into final strategic preparations. The hour before Sarah's scheduled fight brought the familiar rituals of final preparation that distinguish genuine competitors from recreational athletes. Her warm-up routine had been refined through years of competition experience, designed to activate the specific physical and mental systems required for optimal performance while avoiding the over-preparation that could diminish energy or focus. The process was conducted with methodical precision that reflected complete confidence in her readiness for competition. Coach Valdez's final instructions emphasized tactical elements specific to the matchup with Santos while reinforcing the technical fundamentals that had distinguished Sarah's training throughout the preparation period. His guidance reflected deep understanding of both athletes' capabilities and the strategic adjustments that would be required to neutralize Santos's strengths while maximizing Sarah's technical advantages. The conversation was brief and focused, avoiding unnecessary complexity that might interfere with Sarah's mental preparation. The walk to the ring for Sarah's tournament debut created a moment of profound transition from months of concealed preparation to public demonstration of abilities that few people had witnessed directly. Her entrance generated sustained applause from Iron Fist supporters, while drawing curious attention from general audiences, who recognized the significance of this particular bout within the broader tournament context. The atmosphere combined celebration with anticipation, creating energy that enhanced rather than distracted from her competitive focus. The referee's final instructions and the formal introduction of both fighters established the official beginning of Sarah's first competition as an Iron Fist representative, culminating weeks of preparation that had transformed her from dismissed fitness class participant to legitimate championship contender. The moment represented validation of her abilities while creating pressure to demonstrate that her training performance could translate into competitive success under tournament conditions. The opening bell triggered an explosion of controlled violence that immediately distinguished tournament competition from any training simulation that Sarah had experienced during her preparation period. Santos's aggressive opening rush tested Sarah's defensive positioning and counterattack, timing under pressure that exceeded anything possible in controlled sparring situations. The early exchange established the intensity level that would characterize the entire fight while providing immediate information about both athletes' tactical approaches and physical condition. Sarah's response to Santos's initial pressure demonstrated the technical sophistication and psychological composure that had impressed observers throughout her training camp. Her defensive movements were precise and economical, deflecting aggressive attacks while creating counter opportunities that demonstrated superior timing and tactical intelligence. The early moments of the fight established her ability to perform under genuine, competitive pressure while revealing technical advantages that training footage had only suggested. The first round developed into a tactical battle that showcased contrasting styles and strategic approaches, with Santos's aggressive pressure testing Sarah's technical precision and defensive positioning. The exchange provided clear evidence of Sarah's competitive readiness while demonstrating the legitimate challenge posed by an opponent with extensive professional experience and superior physical conditioning. The round concluded with both fighters having established their tactical preferences while gathering information about their opponent's capabilities and weaknesses. The interval between rounds provided Coach Valdez with opportunities to make tactical adjustments based on his observations of the opening exchanges, while Sarah demonstrated the psychological resilience required to process feedback and implement strategic modifications under tournament pressure. Her response to coaching guidance reflected the mental flexibility that distinguished experienced competitors from athletes who relied exclusively on physical preparation and natural ability. The second round opened with modified tactical approaches from both fighters as Sarah implemented adjustments suggested by Coach Valdez, while Santos attempted to increase pressure and tempo to test her opponent's conditioning and mental toughness. The exchanges became more intense and technically sophisticated, providing clear demonstration of the elite level skills that both athletes possessed while showcasing the strategic complexity that characterized high-level combat sports competition. Sarah's technical advantages became increasingly apparent as the fight progressed, with her superior timing and tactical intelligence creating opportunities for devastating counterattacks that tested Santos's defensive abilities and psychological resilience. The momentum shift was gradual but unmistakable, as Sarah's precision began to overwhelm her opponent's aggressive but less refined approach. The transition demonstrated her ability not only to compete at elite levels, but to dominate opponents with established professional credentials. The decisive moment of the fight arrived during a technical exchange that showcased Sarah's complete mastery of combat sports fundamentals, as she executed a perfectly timed combination that demonstrated years of training distilled into seconds of flawless technique execution. Her strikes were placed with surgical precision, generating impact that immediately compromised Santos's defensive posture while creating opportunities for fight-ending follow-up attacks that she delivered with controlled devastation. The referee's intervention to stop the contest came after Santos demonstrated clear inability to continue effective competition, validating Sarah's technical superiority while ensuring her opponent's safety in accordance with tournament protocols. The stoppage generated sustained applause from spectators, who recognized they had witnessed a performance of exceptional quality from a fighter making her debut under Iron Fist colors. The victory established Sarah as a legitimate contender for tournament championship while providing definitive proof of her competitive readiness. The post-fight interview provided Sarah with her first opportunity to address public audiences as a championship contender rather than an unknown quantity, creating a platform for discussing her background and future competitive aspirations. Her responses emphasized respect for her opponent and gratitude for the training opportunities provided by Iron Fist, while avoiding the self-promotional rhetoric that characterized many combat sports interviews. The approach reinforced her distinctive identity within the tournament field while generating additional interest in her subsequent matches. The semifinal and championship rounds of the tournament provided Sarah with opportunities to demonstrate sustained excellence under increasing pressure, as her opponent's quality and tactical sophistication escalated with each successive match. Her performance throughout the elimination rounds showed consistent technical superiority and psychological resilience that distinguished genuine champions from athletes who achieved occasional excellence but lacked the consistency required for sustained success. The championship final against defending regional title holder Carmen Rodriguez provided the ultimate test of Sarah's competitive readiness, as she faced an opponent whose professional experience and technical sophistication matched her own while possessing superior tournament-specific preparation and psychological advantages associated with championship defense. The matchup promised to provide definitive answers about Sarah's ability to compete successfully at the highest regional levels while under maximum competitive pressure. The final bout developed into an exhibition of technical excellence that showcased the highest levels of women's combat sports competition available at regional tournament levels. Both fighters demonstrated complete mastery of fundamental techniques while displaying tactical creativity and psychological resilience that elevated the contest beyond simple athletic competition into genuine artistic expression. The exchanges provided clear evidence that women's divisions could produce technical sophistication and competitive intensity comparable to any division in combat sports. Sarah's victory in the championship final came through a combination sequence that demonstrated the perfect integration of technical skill, tactical intelligence, and psychological preparation that characterized her entire tournament performance. Her execution was flawless, her timing was perfect, and her follow-through demonstrated the killer instinct required to capitalize on opportunities created through superior preparation and natural ability. The moment represented complete validation of her competitive credentials while establishing her as a regional champion with legitimate aspirations for national-level success. The championship ceremony provided formal recognition of Sarah's tournament victory, while creating opportunities for media coverage that would extend the impact of her achievement beyond immediate participants and spectators. Her acceptance of the championship belt marked the culmination of a journey from dismissed fitness class participant to regional champion that had required only 3 months but represented the revelation of 15 years of accumulated skill and experience. The celebration at Iron Fist following Sarah's championship victory created an atmosphere of vindication and triumph that extended beyond her individual achievement to represent validation of the gym's decision to embrace gender-inclusive competitive training. Her success had demonstrated the potential benefits of evaluating athletes based on ability rather than demographic assumptions, while generating publicity and business opportunities that exceeded projections for traditional promotional investments. The transformation of Iron Fist's reputation from traditional male-focused facility to progressive leader in gender-integrated combat sports training had been completed through Sarah's championship performance, creating opportunities for expansion and development that positioned the gym for sustained growth in evolving market conditions. Her success had proven that competitive excellence and inclusive policies could coexist productively, generating benefits for all participants rather than requiring compromise or accommodation. The long-term implications of Sarah's championship extended beyond individual achievement or facility reputation to demonstrate broader possibilities for women's participation in combat sports at all levels. Her story provided evidence that talent and determination could overcome institutional barriers and cultural assumptions, while showing that competitive excellence remained the ultimate standard for evaluation, regardless of demographic categories or historical precedents. 6 months later, Iron Fist had become the premier destination for serious female combat sports athletes throughout the Southwest, while maintaining its reputation for developing male champions who benefited from training in technically sophisticated and strategically challenging environments. Sarah's presence had elevated everyone's performance, while attracting additional talent that enhanced the facility's competitive culture and business prospects. The national championships beckoned as Sarah's next major competitive goal, representing opportunities for achievement that would establish her among the elite ranks of American combat sports while providing platforms for continued growth and development. Her journey from concealed talent to regional champion had demonstrated that excellence could emerge from unexpected places when evaluation was based on merit rather than assumption, creating inspiration for athletes who had been overlooked by systems that failed to recognize their potential. The quiet accountant from Mesa had become a regional champion whose technical brilliance and competitive achievements commanded respect throughout the combat sports community. Her success had transformed not only her own life, but the entire culture of competitive training at Iron Fist, proving that sometimes the most powerful revolutions begin with someone who refuses to accept the limitations that others try to impose. Sarah Chun's story was no longer about hidden talent or institutional barriers, but about the unstoppable force of authentic excellence, finally given the opportunity to shine. The months following Sarah's championship victory brought transformation to Iron Fist that extended far beyond simple policy changes or equipment modifications. The facility had evolved into something entirely different from the gender-segregated establishment that had initially dismissed her potential, becoming instead a beacon for athletes who understood that excellence transcended traditional categories and limitations. The cultural shift was evident in every aspect of daily operations, from training partnerships that paired athletes based on skill compatibility rather than demographic assumptions to coaching methodologies that emphasized individual development over conformity to preconceived notions about appropriate participation levels. Ashley Wright's role at the front desk had expanded to include specialized intake procedures for evaluating new members whose capabilities might exceed their initial presentation, ensuring that Iron Fist would never again overlook hidden talent due to superficial assessments or institutional prejudices. Her training in recognizing signs of advanced athletic background had become essential to the facility's reputation for discovering and developing exceptional athletes regardless of their previous training environments or demographic characteristics. The transformation reflected broader changes in combat sports culture that Sarah's success had helped accelerate throughout the regional competitive community. The waiting list for Iron Fist's competitive training program had grown to include serious female athletes from across the Southwest, many of whom had been training in isolation or substandard facilities because legitimate competitive opportunities had been unavailable in their local areas. Sarah's championship had created a demonstration effect that proved high-level women's training was not only possible but potentially superior to traditional approaches when implemented with appropriate technical sophistication and competitive intensity. The influx of talented female athletes had created training partnerships and competitive dynamics that elevated everyone's performance, while establishing Iron Fist as the premier destination for serious combat sports preparation regardless of gender. Jake Morrison's documentation responsibilities had expanded to include comprehensive coverage of training sessions and competitive events that showcased the technical excellence and strategic sophistication that characterized Iron Fist's evolved program. His footage had attracted attention from national media outlets and professional promoters who recognized the marketing potential of compelling stories that challenged conventional wisdom about combat sports participation. The content had generated sponsorship opportunities and partnership proposals that positioned Iron Fist for expansion beyond regional markets while maintaining its commitment to competitive excellence and inclusive training practices. Coach Valdez's training methodologies had been refined through his work with Sarah and the subsequent generation of high-level female athletes who had joined Iron Fist's competitive program. His approach had evolved to incorporate technical elements and strategic concepts that enhanced the preparation of all athletes while addressing the specific needs and advantages that different physical types and fighting styles brought to competitive preparation. The integration had created training environments that were more technically sophisticated and strategically diverse than traditional single-gender programs, producing athletes whose competitive readiness exceeded previous standards. Throughout the facility, Marcus Rodriguez's development as an athlete had accelerated dramatically through his training partnerships with Sarah and other technically advanced female fighters, whose precision and tactical intelligence had challenged him to refine aspects of his technique that had previously gone unexamined. His performance in subsequent competitions had improved measurably, earning him recognition at national levels that had been beyond his reach before the integration of high-level female training partners into his preparation routine. The success had validated the competitive advantages of diverse training environments while demonstrating that traditional approaches had limited the potential of even the most talented male athletes. Tony Brennan's business instincts had proven exceptionally accurate in recognizing the market potential of Sarah's story and the broader trend toward gender integration in combat sports training. The facility's revenue had increased substantially through new memberships, expanded program offerings, and sponsorship relationships that had emerged from Iron Fist's reputation as an innovative leader in competitive athletic development. The success had enabled facility improvements and program expansions that benefited all members while positioning Iron Fist for continued growth in evolving market conditions that increasingly valued authentic excellence over traditional demographic limitations. The national championships had provided Sarah with opportunities to compete against the highest level of domestic talent while representing Iron Fist on platforms that reached audiences throughout the combat sports community. Her performance had validated her regional championship while establishing her among the elite ranks of American female fighters, whose technical abilities and competitive achievements commanded respect from athletes and observers regardless of their previous attitudes toward women's participation in combat sports. The success had created opportunities for international competition and professional advancement that represented the ultimate validation of her decision to pursue competitive excellence despite initial institutional resistance. The media coverage of Sarah's national championship run had generated stories that transcended combat sports to reach general audiences interested in narratives about overcoming institutional barriers and achieving excellence through determination and authentic ability. Her interviews had emphasized themes of merit-based evaluation and the importance of providing opportunities for athletes to demonstrate their capabilities rather than making assumptions based on appearance or demographic characteristics. The Fang Day message had resonated with audiences beyond the combat sports community, creating broader cultural conversations about talent recognition and institutional inclusivity. The sponsorship opportunities that had emerged from Sarah's success had included partnerships with equipment manufacturers, nutritional supplement companies, and athletic apparel brands that recognized the marketing potential of authentic stories about overcoming adversity through genuine achievement. Her approach to sponsor relationships had emphasized product quality and alignment with her values rather than simple financial considerations, creating partnerships that enhanced her training while maintaining the integrity that had characterized her competitive journey from the beginning. The training facility that Iron Fist had become bore little resemblance to the gender-segregated establishment that had initially dismissed Sarah's potential, having evolved into a sophisticated athletic development center that attracted serious competitors from throughout North America. The transformation had been driven by demonstrated results rather than policy mandates, as the success of integrated training programs had proven their superiority over traditional approaches in developing technically sophisticated and competitively successful athletes. The facility had become a model for other combat sports programs seeking to maximize their athletes' potential through evidence-based training methodologies. The coaching staff that had developed around Sarah's success included specialists in various aspects of combat sports preparation who had been attracted to Iron Fist by its reputation for innovative training approaches and commitment to individual athlete development. The team included former professional fighters, sports scientists, and performance specialists whose combined expertise created training environments that addressed every aspect of competitive preparation from technical skill development through psychological readiness, and career management. The integration had created opportunities for comprehensive athlete development that exceeded anything available through traditional single-focus programs. The competitive culture that had emerged at Iron Fist emphasized continuous improvement and mutual support among athletes whose diverse backgrounds and fighting styles created training partnerships that challenged everyone to expand their technical understanding and strategic thinking. The environment had eliminated the hierarchical dynamics that had previously limited training opportunities based on demographic assumptions, replacing them with merit-based systems that paired athletes according to skill compatibility and development needs. The result had been dramatic improvements in competitive performance across all program participants, regardless of their gender, experience level, or previous training background. The regional combat sports community had been transformed by Iron Fist's success, as other facilities had been forced to reconsider their own policies and training approaches in response to the demonstrated advantages of inclusive, merit-based athletic development programs. The competitive pressure had created improvements throughout the regional training infrastructure as facilities competed to attract talented athletes who increasingly demanded access to the highest quality preparation, regardless of traditional limitations or demographic assumptions. The evolution had benefited all participants while establishing new standards for competitive excellence that transcended historical prejudices and institutional barriers. The international recognition that Sarah had achieved through her national championship success had created opportunities for competition and training exchanges that exposed Iron Fist athletes to global standards and methodologies that further enhanced their technical development and competitive readiness. The connections had established Iron Fist as part of an international network of elite training facilities that shared knowledge and athletes in pursuit of the highest levels of competitive achievement. The relationships had created opportunities for continued growth and development that positioned Iron Fist's athletes for success at the highest levels of international competition. The documentary film that had been produced about Sarah's journey from dismissed fitness class participant to national champion had reached audiences throughout the combat sports community and beyond, creating broader awareness of the potential that could be unlocked when evaluation was based on demonstrated ability rather than demographic assumptions. The film had been used in training seminars and educational programs that helped other facilities and coaches recognize and develop hidden talent while challenging institutional practices that limited opportunities for exceptional athletes. The impact had extended far beyond Sarah's individual story to influence broader cultural attitudes toward talent recognition and athletic development. The scholarship program that Iron Fist had established in Sarah's honor provided training opportunities for promising athletes whose financial circumstances might otherwise have prevented them from accessing high-level competitive preparation. The program had identified and developed numerous talented fighters who had gone on to achieve significant competitive success while contributing to the facility's reputation for discovering and nurturing exceptional athletes regardless of their economic background or previous training access. The initiative had created a pipeline of talent that ensured Iron Fist's continued success while fulfilling social responsibilities that reflected Sarah's values and competitive philosophy. The technical innovations that had emerged from Sarah's training had been documented and shared throughout the combat sports community, contributing to broader advances in training methodologies and competitive preparation that benefited athletes at all levels. Her approach to technique development, strategic preparation, and psychological readiness had been analyzed and adapted by coaches and athletes, seeking to optimize their own competitive performance through evidence-based training approaches. The influence had created lasting improvements in combat sports preparation that extended far beyond individual achievement to benefit entire generations of athletes. The mentorship role that Sarah had assumed for younger athletes at Iron Fist had created opportunities for knowledge transfer and inspiration that ensured the continuation of the facility's commitment to excellence and inclusive opportunity. Her work with developing fighters had emphasized the importance of technical precision, strategic thinking, and psychological resilience, while demonstrating that competitive success was achievable for anyone willing to commit themselves to authentic preparation and continuous improvement. The guidance had produced numerous successful athletes who carried forward the values and methodologies that had characterized Sarah's own competitive journey. The legacy that Sarah's story had created extended beyond individual achievement or facility transformation to represent broader possibilities for recognizing and developing human potential, when evaluation was based on demonstrated capability, rather than superficial assessment or institutional prejudice. Her journey from concealed talent to national champion had proven that excellence could emerge from unexpected places when provided with appropriate opportunities and support, creating inspiration for athletes and organizations throughout the combat sports community and beyond. The World Championship opportunities that had emerged from Sarah's national success represented the ultimate validation of her competitive journey while creating platforms for continued growth and achievement that would establish her among the global elite of combat sports athletes. Her preparation for international competition had incorporated training methods and strategic approaches that reflected the highest levels of athletic sophistication while maintaining the technical precision and psychological resilience that had characterized her success from the beginning. The opportunity represented the culmination of years of hidden preparation finally given appropriate recognition and support. The quiet accountant from Mesa had become a world championship contender whose story had transformed not only her own life but entire communities of athletes and organizations throughout the combat sports world. Her success had demonstrated that authentic excellence could overcome any institutional barrier when supported by genuine preparation and unwavering commitment to competitive achievement. The journey had proven that the most powerful transformations often begin with someone who refuses to accept the limitations that others attempt to impose, creating possibilities that extend far beyond individual success to benefit countless others who dare to pursue their own authentic potential. The impact of Sarah's championship journey continued to ripple through the combat sports community years after her initial breakthrough, inspiring facility owners, coaches, and athletes to reconsider their assumptions about talent recognition and development while creating opportunities for countless individuals whose potential might otherwise have remained hidden behind institutional prejudices and cultural limitations. Her story had become more than personal achievement, evolving into a symbol of the transformative power of merit-based evaluation and the extraordinary results that become possible when human potential is recognized and supported, regardless of traditional categories or historical precedents. The revolution that had begun with a quiet woman asking a simple question about competitive training had fundamentally altered the landscape of combat sports preparation throughout the Southwest and beyond, creating a new standard of excellence that embraced diversity as a competitive advantage, while maintaining unwavering commitment to the authentic achievement that Sarah had demonstrated was possible when talent was given appropriate opportunity to flourish. Her legacy would continue to inspire future generations of athletes who understood that true greatness recognizes no boundaries, except those imposed by limitation of vision and commitment to excellence. The World Championship Arena in Bangkok pulsed with the electric energy of 12,000 spectators whose voices created a wall of sound that reverberated through the massive steel and glass structure. The venue had been transformed into a cathedral of combat sports, with lighting systems that cast dramatic shadows across the elevated ring platforms and camera arrays that would broadcast every moment to audiences spanning 6 continents. The atmosphere carried the weight of athletic dreams and commercial expectations that had converged on this singular event where careers would be defined and legacies would be established through 30 minutes of controlled violence and technical artistry. Sarah's journey to this moment had required 18 months of preparation that had pushed every aspect of her athletic development beyond previous limits while maintaining the technical precision and strategic sophistication that had characterized her rise from regional unknown to international contender. The training had incorporated methodologies from the world's most advanced combat sports programs, including extended camps with legendary coaches, whose expertise had been refined through decades of developing world-class athletes. Every element of her preparation had been documented, analyzed, and optimized to ensure that she would arrive in Bangkok with every possible advantage that modern sports science and traditional fighting wisdom could provide. The media attention surrounding Sarah's championship opportunity had created narratives that extended far beyond combat sports to encompass broader themes about overcoming institutional barriers and achieving excellence through authentic preparation rather than promotional manipulation. Her story had been featured in documentaries, magazine profiles, and television interviews that had reached audiences who typically ignored combat sports, but were drawn to compelling human stories about determination and achievement. The coverage had generated commercial opportunities and cultural influence that positioned her success as representing possibilities for systemic change rather than individual accomplishment. The opponent waiting for Sarah in the championship final represented the absolute pinnacle of women's combat sports achievement, a defending champion whose technical mastery and competitive record had established her as the standard against which all other athletes in the division were measured. Alessandra Volkov had dominated international competition for 3 years, accumulating victories over every credible challenger, while demonstrating the kind of comprehensive excellence that distinguished genuine champions from merely talented athletes. Her preparation for this bout had been equally meticulous, incorporating advanced training methods and strategic planning that reflected her determination to extend her championship reign against an opponent whose recent emergence had captured global attention. The contrast between the two athletes' backgrounds and career trajectories had created compelling storylines that elevated the championship bout beyond simple sporting competition into cultural event that would be remembered for its broader significance. Regardless of the competitive outcome, Sarah's rise from concealed talent to world title contender represented possibilities for recognizing and developing human potential that had been overlooked by traditional systems, while Volkov's established dominance embodied the results of conventional elite development programs operating at their highest levels. The matchup promised to provide definitive answers about whether innovative approaches to talent identification and development could compete successfully against established excellence produced through traditional methods. The technical analysis preceding the championship bout had identified areas of potential advantage for both athletes, while acknowledging that the outcome would likely depend on execution under championship pressure rather than theoretical assessments of skill and preparation. Sarah's advantages included superior tactical creativity and the element of surprise that came from her relatively recent emergence on the international scene, while Volkov possessed the experience and psychological resilience that came from successfully defending her championship against multiple challengers. The tactical chess match would be complicated by the uncertainty surrounding Sarah's ability to perform at championship levels against an opponent whose capabilities had been proven through years of elite competition. The economic impact of Sarah's championship opportunity had extended throughout the combat sports industry, as her story had attracted sponsor attention and media coverage that elevated the entire women's division while creating new market opportunities for athletes, promoters, and facilities. The financial investments in her preparation and promotion had been substantial, reflecting confidence in her competitive abilities while acknowledging the commercial potential of compelling narratives that transcended traditional combat sports audiences. The success or failure of these investments would influence future approaches to athlete development and promotion throughout the industry. The coaching team that had been assembled for Sarah's championship preparation represented the collective wisdom of multiple combat sports disciplines and training philosophies, creating a support system that addressed every aspect of competitive readiness from technical refinement through psychological preparation and tactical strategy. Coach Valdez had been joined by specialists in strength and conditioning, sports psychology, nutrition, and recovery whose combined expertise ensured that no element of championship preparation would be overlooked or inadequately addressed. Collaborative approach had created training environments that maximized Sarah's natural abilities while addressing potential weaknesses that might be exploited by an opponent of Volkov's caliber. The transformation of Iron Fist from regional training facility to internationally recognized center of excellence had been accelerated by Sarah's championship opportunity, as her success had attracted elite athletes and coaching talent from throughout the combat sports world. The facility had been expanded and upgraded to include specialized training areas, recovery systems, and analytical equipment that rivaled the resources available at professional sports franchises. The investment had been justified by increased membership, sponsorship relationships, and consulting opportunities that had emerged from Iron Fist's reputation as a leader in innovative athletic development. The cultural significance of Sarah's championship opportunity had been recognized by organizations and institutions beyond the combat sports community, as her story had been incorporated into educational programs and leadership seminars that used her journey as an example of the potential that could be unlocked through merit-based evaluation and inclusive opportunity structures. The broader application of lessons learned from her success had influenced policies and practices in various fields, where talent recognition and development were critical to organizational achievement and individual fulfillment. The psychological preparation for championship competition had required Sarah to develop mental resilience and focus capabilities that exceeded anything demanded by previous competitive experiences, as the pressure and attention associated with World Championship events created unique challenges that could overwhelm even technically superior athletes. The preparation had incorporated meditation, visualization, and stress management techniques that had been adapted from various disciplines to create comprehensive psychological readiness for the intense scrutiny and pressure that would characterize every moment of championship week. The international media coverage leading up to the championship bout had generated global awareness of Sarah's story while creating expectations and pressure that added complexity to her competitive preparation. The attention had been both beneficial and challenging, as increased visibility had created commercial opportunities and inspirational platforms while potentially serving as distraction from the technical and tactical preparation that would ultimately determine competitive success. The balance between media obligations and training focus had required careful management to ensure that promotional activities enhanced rather than compromised her readiness for competition. The venue preparation for the World Championship event had created an atmosphere that emphasized the historical significance and global importance of the competition, with ceremonial elements that honored the traditions of combat sports while incorporating modern production values that would create compelling viewing experiences for international audiences. The arena had been configured to optimize both live spectator experience and broadcast presentation, with multiple camera angles and audio systems that would capture every nuance of the championship bout for audiences whose reactions would influence the careers and reputations of both competitors. The ceremonial weigh-ins had provided Sarah with her first direct interaction with Volkov in a competitive context, creating opportunities to assess her opponent's physical condition and psychological state while managing her own presentation. To project confidence and readiness without revealing tactical information that might provide competitive advantages. The formal procedures had been conducted with the dignity and professionalism that befitted World Championship competition, While the informal interactions had allowed both athletes to take measure of each other's character and competitive mindset. The final training session before championship competition had been designed to maintain technical sharpness and competitive edge, while avoiding any activities that might compromise Sarah's physical condition or psychological readiness. The work had been conducted with the precision and focus that had characterized her entire preparation period, emphasizing the fundamental techniques and tactical concepts that would form the foundation of her championship strategy. The session had concluded with visualization exercises and mental preparation activities that would carry forward into competition day. The morning of the championship bout brought the familiar rituals and routines that Sarah had developed through years of competitive experience, designed to optimize her physical and mental state for the demands of world-class competition. The procedures had been refined through her previous championship experiences, while being adapted for the unique pressures and expectations associated with competing for a world title against an opponent of Volkov's caliber. Every element of her preparation had been planned and practiced to ensure that she would arrive at the venue in optimal condition for the most important competition of her career. The arena atmosphere on championship day created an environment that transcended typical sporting events to become cultural celebration of athletic excellence and human achievement, with spectators and participants understanding that they were witnessing history being made through the collision of exceptional preparation and natural talent. The energy was palpable throughout the venue, creating an electric atmosphere that elevated everyone present while adding intensity and significance to every moment of the championship experience. The pre-fight preparations in the dressing room had been designed to maintain Sarah's focus and energy, while managing the external pressures and distractions that could compromise competitive performance at crucial moments. The routine had been practiced and refined to ensure smooth execution under championship pressure, with every element timed and choreographed to build toward optimal physical and mental state as she approached ring entry. The support team's presence provided reassurance and expertise while maintaining the calm, focused atmosphere that would best serve her competitive needs. The walk to the ring for the World Championship bout represented the culmination of Sarah's athletic journey from concealed talent to global contender, creating a moment of profound significance that honored both her individual achievement and the broader possibilities for human development that her success had demonstrated. The entrance generated sustained applause from spectators who understood they were witnessing something exceptional, while her demeanor projected the confidence and readiness that had been developed through months of comprehensive preparation. The championship bout itself unfolded as a technical masterpiece that showcased the highest levels of combat sports artistry while maintaining the competitive intensity and strategic complexity that distinguished world-class competition from lesser events. Both athletes demonstrated complete mastery of fundamental techniques, while displaying tactical creativity and psychological resilience that elevated the contest beyond simple athletic competition into artistic expression. The exchanges provided clear evidence that women's combat sports had achieved technical sophistication and competitive depth that rivaled any division in the sport. Sarah's performance throughout the championship rounds demonstrated the complete integration of technical skill, tactical intelligence, and psychological preparation that had characterized her entire competitive journey, while showing the champion level execution under maximum pressure that validated years of systematic development and preparation. Her techniques were crisp and precise, her strategy was sound and adaptable, and her mental approach remained calm and focused despite the intense scrutiny and pressure that surrounded every moment of the competition. The decisive sequence that determined the championship outcome came through a combination of technical excellence and tactical awareness that demonstrated Sarah's complete readiness for world-class competition, as she executed a perfectly timed attack that exploited a momentary lapse in her opponent's defensive positioning. The exchange was swift and conclusive, generating immediate recognition from officials and spectators that they had witnessed a championship-caliber performance that justified Sarah's presence at the highest levels of international competition. The aftermath of Sarah's World Championship victory created an explosion of celebration and recognition that extended far beyond the immediate participants to encompass everyone who had supported her journey from regional unknown to global champion. The moment represented validation not only of her individual abilities, but of the innovative approaches to talent recognition and development that had enabled her success. The victory had broader implications for combat sports culture and athletic development that would influence policies and practices throughout the international competition community. The championship ceremony provided formal recognition of Sarah's achievement while creating platforms for expressing gratitude to the coaches, facilities, and support systems that had made her success possible. Her acceptance speech emphasized themes of opportunity and merit-based evaluation, while acknowledging the contributions of everyone who had believed in her potential when it was hidden behind institutional barriers and cultural assumptions. The message resonated with audiences who understood that her individual success represented broader possibilities for human development and achievement. The media coverage following Sarah's championship victory generated global attention that transcended combat sports to reach general audiences interested in stories about overcoming adversity and achieving excellence through determination and authentic preparation. The interviews and profiles emphasized her journey from dismissed fitness class participant to world champion, while highlighting the systemic changes that her success had catalyzed throughout the athletic development community. The coverage created lasting impact that would continue to influence attitudes and practices long after the immediate celebration of her championship achievement. The world champion, who had once been told that kickboxing was too violent for women, had proven that excellence recognizes no artificial boundaries when supported by authentic preparation and unwavering commitment to competitive achievement. Her story had become more than individual success, evolving into a symbol of the transformative power of recognizing and developing human potential regardless of traditional limitations or institutional prejudices. The quiet accountant from Mesa had achieved the ultimate validation of her abilities while creating possibilities for countless others who would follow the path she had pioneered through determination, skill, and the courage to pursue authentic excellence despite initial dismissal and discouragement. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.